Now, my great pleasure is to introduce the ambassador from Afghanistan to the United States, Dr. Hamdullah Mohib. Dr. Mohib is like really young for this job. But I think he represents that generation, the Atikullah Nusrat generation, the Qadir Bakhman generation, the Zia Rasuli generation, the Mirwais generation, and I'm missing a lot of people, the Razai generation. This more youthful Afghanistan does not operate. Hakjo, oh my God. Zabiullah, yeah. Now, you're too old, Yasin Jan. But, it's these folks many of you know this, these folks operate differently in that they believe in collaborative corporate kind of engagement, and that not everyone has to be the president and the CEO. It's so far less tribal than the older generation, and so much more oriented towards collaborative, cooperative work, international engagement, highly trained, highly educated people. Wow, that's an incredible resource. No doubt in my mind, a little bit of peace, the Afghan economy would soar, but I also think that Afghan political leadership in that part of the world could be preeminent, because as difficult as we see Afghan governance, there are so many people in that Afghan leadership that are modern compared to the region, and it's relative to the region. Afghanistan is the potential leader of the regional economy, and I think of the regional political economy as well. But anyway, and Dr. Mohib is definitely one of those people. He has enormous international experience. He did so much work as head of protocol and deputy chief of staff to the president in the surrounding countries, including China, India, Pakistan, and Russia. Вы по-русски не знаете, да? Нет. The younger generation doesn't study in Moscow like the older generation, but when I do business in the north, I'm speaking Russian a lot. When I talk to Abdul Rahman Al-Kozai, it's in Russian, по-русски we talk. Yeah. So he has a doctorate of philosophy, and he's been active in civil society amongst the global community. I mean, we could not have a more qualified ambassador to the United States. He was chairman of the board of the Afghan Professionals Network. As part of the professional network, he started a think tank, Discourse Afghanistan, initiated community service programming to support special needs orphans in Kabul, a major player in recognizing the achievements of Afghan women. He's fluent in English, Pashto, and Dari, and Urdu, and Hindi. He's a published writer on Afghan politics, as well as in academic research. So with great pleasure, we introduce to the 12th Annual U.S.-Afghanistan Business Matchmaking Conference, Ambassador Hamdullah Mohib. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and thank you, Don, for that introduction. And congratulations on the award. By the way, I was going to say that Russian is going to come in handy now that the relationships are changing. But to add to a well-dressed congressman can be the only one that starts thinking about a dry cleaning business in Afghanistan. So we need that kind of thinking more. But also congratulations to Asad Mateen for winning this award. I think well deserved. I want to thank some of the members of the Afghan-American Chamber of Commerce. I'm here and I see them hard at work They are changing. They are making. It's not a difficult. It's not an easy environment. So they do have a very difficult job in front of them, and they have been very dedicated to Afghanistan. It's people like Don, and you heard his long bio and his involvement with Afghanistan. It's the work of Suleiman Lutfi and others who are dedicated and putting their own resources that gives me, as ambassador of Afghanistan, the confidence that our future relationship with the United States is concrete. We're very lucky to have millions of friends in the United States, at least over 1 million Americans served in Afghanistan in a military capacity, but there were over 60,000 that served in diplomatic and in civilian capacity. Those Americans are dedicated to Afghanistan, just like Don is, and he is a representative of how long that commitment is. It just means that once an American becomes a friend, he stays a friend for life. So thank you for your lifetime achievements and friendship to Afghanistan. We greatly appreciate it, and we wish Jeff all the best for with his new responsibilities as he take over, and you will have a friend at the Afghan embassy and a supporter. I don't know where Jeff is. Oh, there he is. Yeah. When I arrived here, I asked the Afghan-American Chamber of Commerce to give me a list of the things that we needed to do to make business better in Afghanistan. We did the same with OPEC, and since then we have been working down that list to make sure we tick most of those off. And Jeff was instrumental in drawing that list. I still have it on my table to this day. I go through it every month to see how much progress we have made. I think with that kind of leadership, we will improve the Afghan-American business model even further. I will like to welcome our Afghan colleagues, Deputy Minister Hakjo and Nasrat to the United States, and all of the other colleagues who are here, and again on business at Yasin, and all the businessmen that are here. I hope it would be a productive trip. I know it wasn't easy for most of the businessmen and women that wanted to come to this conference this year due to visa issues. So those of you who are here need to make the best out of this and build on it so that next year we can make this twice as big. I would like to also support USAID's efforts towards helping and establishing businesses in Afghanistan. You know, aid alone is not going to build a country. We do need the investment and the support that is necessary to make that happen. So with that, I would like to begin and say that we understand that these are uncertain times. Uncertain in the United States, uncertainty in Europe. But if there is one thing the Afghans know how to handle, it's uncertainty. In the face of uncertainty, we built last year, we attracted $1.1 billion of investments from private sector. And you know well, and this was the advice that the American Chamber of Commerce gave us first, and Don, if you remember, you said that the first investors would be the Afghan diaspora. And they are. That investment came from the Afghan diaspora. But we also attracted investment directly from foreign investors. A Turkish firm pledged to invest $200 million in the third phase of the Kajiki Dam. Now, that is the kind of endorsement that we were looking for. It's not just an investment. It just means that we have been doing things right. It means that investors feel secure to bring their money and put their resources in Afghanistan. It is a risky environment, but those who are in business understand that if you do not take risk, you don't make profit. So Afghanistan is on the way into making that environment happen. We have been working on the key components that was requested of us. We've been working on the transport links so that we're ready to start mining. We can export the produce outside of Afghanistan. We have a connectivity, we have a link to China, now from Akina through Turkmenistan into Europe, and we're working on another link through Iran and an air corridor with India that opens up the opportunities for our traders, for our farmers, for our miners to be able to bring their goods outside of Afghanistan and find itself market. That was step one. We needed the other thing that was required of us was energy. You cannot build an industry without electricity. the investments that I mentioned, 1.1 billion, about 800 million of that was in the energy sector. We're building 2 gas power plants in the north. We're building a solar power plant in the south, and we're investing in hydroelectric energy. That's both at Kajiki and Surubi, the second phases of that. But we've also built some of the uncompleted projects that were unfinished, like the Salma Dam, which would irrigate 80,000 hectare land, and that is providing opportunities for about 50,000 farmers, in addition to the electricity that it would produce and give power to Herat city. Though that was another point. We have also been, Don referred to the capabilities and the skills that the Afghan youth bring. We have an educated population that's technically savvy, culturally sophisticated, and globally connected. That is the biggest asset we have, and we graduate about 100,000 new students every year. It's a different landscape in Afghanistan. It is a different Afghanistan that we represent today. That guarantees your investment. And lastly, the legal framework is what we had been told. OPIC told us in their meeting that most American investors left Afghanistan not because of the insecurity that they could work with. They left because we did not have the legal framework to guarantee their investments. In the last year when I stood on this podium, I talked about Afghanistan joining the World Trade Organization. We did join, but we didn't just complete that process on its own. We passed 27 laws and regulations to make that a success. And some of these regulations and laws were new to us, but it shows our commitment to making Afghanistan business friendly. If that is what needed to be done, we had the commitment to do it. You have new leaders like Deputy Minister Hakcho who are working on making it easier for investors to come to Afghanistan. Some of you may have already had a look at the new website that they have launched, Invest in Afghanistan, that talks about what opportunities there are. So we are here to help you find what opportunities you can invest in. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Afghanistan is open for business. And people are already, the initial investors have already started jumping on that opportunity. If you do not, you may be left behind. This is a risky time, and like I said, it's uncertain times. But we know how to handle uncertainty. We have gone through 40 years of different revolutions. Most people who have gone through a single revolution in their lifetime would tell you that that was their defining moment. For us, we went from monarchy to communism to anarchy to extremism and now to democracy. And what we can do is adapt. And we adapted to each one. And we know how to make it work. In 2004, when elections were very new to Afghanistan, we didn't know. Over 60% of the country showed up to vote, those who elected, that was possible. And that kind of turnout is not even common in most developed countries. It showed that Afghans are willing to adapt to changes, to new opportunities if they provide promise. So, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your continued support to Afghanistan. And know that we're here to do everything we can to make sure that your investments are safe and that you are profitable, because when you are making profit, we are making profit. Thank you.
Now we know why Dr. Hamdullah Mohib was appointed to be ambassador to the United States from Afghanistan. But just writing this down, this is one of the great, this is like to be a famous aphorism. From monarchy to communism to anarchy to extremism to democracy. The Afghan people are resilient. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.